Hello, this is Mrs. Johnson, one of the Modern Cuisine teachers. Today we're going to walk through the kitchen math review sheet together. So if you look at the top of your sheet, it says abbreviations. So let's just kind of go through some of these together. Pint, the abbreviation is PT. It could be a capital P and a capital T, a capital or a lowercase p and a lowercase t. Mainly it's lowercase. There are two abbreviations for teaspoon. There is just a lowercase t or a TSP. The abbreviation for pound is LB. Do not ask me why. This would be a great research project that you may want to do someday if you're really bored, is to figure out where LB actually came from. And the other sign, or the other abbreviation for pound, it's the number sign. Sometimes if you're on the phone, they'll ask you to touch the pound key. It's above the 3 on a computer keyboard. Otherwise, it's towards the bottom of your telephone dialing pad. Moving over to the center column, we have ounce. And the abbreviation for ounce is simply, whoa, I don't know how that moved, is simply OZ. Again, not really sure where it came from. Another great idea for a research project. The abbreviation for cup is just the letter C. The abbreviation, there's two for tablespoon. There's a capital T because remember, table is bigger than the teaspoon. So it's a capital T versus a lowercase t, or a TBS, kind of like the TV show. Gallon is a capital G or a GAL. It can be both. And quart is simply QT. Moving down our page, we have our equivalents. Now, we might not know, I would say we know, but we might not know that there are 3 teaspoons. Sorry about that. There are 3 teaspoons in a tablespoon. These equivalents are just things that you're going to need to know. There's no rhyme or reason. They're just, you gotta know them. We'll be taking pop quizzes throughout the quarter or semester on these, so it's a good thing to just remember. Before we go any farther, I know on the next page it's going to ask us to draw the land of G, but before we go any farther, actually on this slide, we're going to go ahead and draw that land of G just kind of in the middle. So we have our gallon, and inside this is going to get real tiny. It's going to get real fun here. Inside our gallon, we have 4 quarts. Oh, and let's change our color here so that we can see it a little bit better even. Inside each quart is 2 pints. Gets a little crowded in here pretty soon. And then inside each one of these pints is 2 cups. I don't even know if I can do this. We're just going to make little like hash marks. Those should be C's. But we all know technology isn't always amazing. So this should help us a little bit on the rest of this. Okay, here we go. How many cups in 1 pint? Well, if we look at the P's, and that's a pint, we'll notice that there are 2 C's inside of that. So there are 2 cups in 1 pint. Pints in half a gallon. Well, if we split this in half, we have how many P's in half of it? 1, 2, 3. We have 4 pints in a half gallon. Now, how many pints are in a quart? Well, each of these Q's stands for quart, so all we have to do is count the P's that are inside each Q. So there are 2 pints in 1 quart. How many cups in 1.5 quarts? Well, we look at I'll find another fun color here for you. We look at 1 quart, and we look at half of a quart. And it ends up how many cups? 2, 4, 6. Tablespoons in a cup. This is just another thing, kind of like the 3 teaspoons in a tablespoon. That's just something you need to know. There's really no rhyme or reason again. It's just 16 tablespoons equals a cup. From there, we can go then that 8 tablespoons is in half a cup, because if a full cup is 16, we divide 16 by 2, because divided in half is in 2, and we get 8. Coming up on the other side, how many cups in a gallon? There are 16. If we were to count all of the C's in the whole G over here, we would count 16 of them. How many pints in 3 quarts? Well, look at the cues and we'll count the P's inside. 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 6. How many cups in half a gallon? Again, we drew our line. How many cups are on one side of it? 2, 4. We have 8. How many quarts in a gallon? Count the cues. It's getting a little bit tough to see, but there are 4. How many tablespoons? This is super jumpy, but it's all a review. So how many tablespoons are in 3/4 of a cup? Well, if we know there's 16 tablespoons in a full cup, we know there's 8 tablespoons in half a cup, we know that there's 8 in between those two numbers, so halfway between 8 and 16 would be 12. Which the only other thing that we haven't done is how many tablespoons equals 1/4 of a cup. Well, we'll just put that in there right now. It's 4. How many cups in a quart? That would be, again, look at the cue, count the C's inside of it, and there are 4. And how many pints in a gallon? Look at the whole big G, that's the gallon, and count the number of pints. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 8 pints. Nicely done. As we move along, there's just a couple more equivalents that we need to know. Again, these aren't anywhere on your sheet, so if you want just kind of to the right column of the equivalence page, you can just write these down. There are 16 ounces in 1 pound. There are 8 fluid ounces in 1 cup. And there are 8 tablespoons in a stick of butter, which would mean you need 2 sticks to get 1 cup of butter. And it's neat that on the sticks of butter, if you buy just regular old boxed butter, it measures it for you, which is a kind of cool feature. Okay, we are on to actually halving, which means to actually cut it. Oh, that's really hard to see. Let's see if yellow will be more helpful. To cut it in half, and doubling is multiplying it by 2. So the easiest way to do it is when we are dividing in half is to multiply your fractions by 1/2. So our 1 cup is 1/1, because that's a full, times 1/2, and you just multiply. Remember, it goes straight across, so we have a 1/2 cup of flour. For the teaspoon, this is going to be really small, so I would be okay if you just said a pinch, because the number we're going to get is really tiny. But we have 1/4, our starting fraction, times 1/2, and remember, we just go straight across, so it's 1/8. And that's a teaspoon. That's really tiny. So it would be okay if you just said a pinch. Now we have our sugar. 2/3 times, I'm going to erase that for you guys, because that's going to be difficult if I continue on that pace. So we're going to 2/3 times 1/2, straight across we get 2/6. Now, that would be okay, but we can definitely reduce that because they're both even numbers. So 2 goes into 2 1 time, and 2 goes into 6 3 times. So we have 1/3 of a cup. I'm going to change colors on you again so that they stop bleeding all together. 2 tablespoons of milk. So we need to divide that in half. Okay, we have 2/1, because that's a whole fraction, times 1/2, and we get 2/2, which again, those are both evens and can be reduced to 1/1, which also equals 1 tablespoon. Next, this one's a little bit trickier, because what we can do is we can say that this is actually 3 over, I did it again for you guys, sorry, you can tell I'm used to writing in actual fractions. We can tell that this is actually 3/2 times 1/2, and we get 3/4. So 3/4 of a teaspoon. Our last one then, This is the trickiest one you will ever do. 1.5 divided by half is 3.25. The next one then, we're right back to simple, basic, right across. 1/4 times 1/2. And we've done this already. 1/4, 1/4. It's the same. So we have 1/8 cups. Okay, well, we don't have 1/8 of a cup measuring cup, but we do know that 1/4 cup is equal to 4 tablespoons. Well, if we divide 4 tablespoons in half, we really just need 2 tablespoons. Or, wow, my arrow's really fun. Or 1/8 of a cup. Okay, now we are going to go to the other side, and we are going to double. So this is really just multiplying everything by 2/1. So 1/1 times 2/1 equals 2/2. Oh, no, that was right, 2/1. Wow, it's been a long time. 2/1. And we get 2/1, so our answer is 2 cups. We'll switch colors here for you. It's going to be kind of hard to see, but 1/4 times 2/1 equals 2/4. That can be reduced because it's both evens, so we get 1/2 teaspoons. We get half a teaspoon. We'll go back to yellow. We have 2/3 times 2/1 equals 4/3. Now, we can definitely bring that down a little bit because we always know if there's the amount in the top that equals the bottom, that comes out as a full. So we really have 1, and what's left over, we'll do this in green because it might be easier to see. So we have 1, and then what's left over is 1/3 of a cup. 2 tablespoons, we have 2/1 times 2/1 equals 4/1. So that's 4 tablespoons. But we also know, we just did it right there, that 4 tablespoons is also 1/4 of a cup. Here's the tricky one again. We can say that go back to what we said before, it's 3/2 times 2/1, and we get 6/2. Well, that can definitely be reduced because we don't want to leave something as a fraction, especially if the top number is so much larger. So 2 goes into 6 3 times. So we have 3 teaspoons. Well, we also know that 3 teaspoons is also 1 tablespoon. So 1 tablespoon would be our final answer on that one. Last but not least, we have 1/4 times 2/1 equals 2/4. Again, we did this already. And we get 1/2 cups. So that would be 1.5 cups. We just did very similar problems to these, so we're going to let you guys try these just on your own. Remember, doubling is when you are multiplying by 2/1. Cutting in half is when you multiply by 1/2. So just things to remember. We are going to draw the land of G a lot bigger so that you can actually see. The G is for gallon, and inside each gallon we have 4 quarts. And then inside each quart we have 2 pints. You will never get sick of this. You can write this on your tests if it will help you. I still see this in my head when I go to the grocery store. Not even kidding. And then inside each pint, so inside each quart there's 2 pints. Inside each pint, again, there are 2 cups. This is the easiest way we can think of as foods teachers to help you remember the land of G. So there's a gallon, and inside Inside the land of G, there are 4 queens, and each queen has 2 children, a prince and a princess, or 2 princes or 2 princesses, whatever you pick. And each prince or princess has 2 pet cats, or they like cupcakes, which is a CC, or candy canes, or candy corn, whatever helps you remember that there are 2 C's in a pint, there are 2 cups in a pint, 2 pints in a quart, and 4 quarts in a gallon. Okay, here we go. This is the nitty-gritty. This will help you with some of those recipe math that we have to do here coming up for an actual grade, very similar to the pretest you all took. But you are making a pie crust, and the recipe calls for a tablespoon of water. How many teaspoons of water would that be? Well, we know that 1 tablespoon is equal to 3 teaspoons. So the answer would be B. You are making cherry turnovers. The recipe calls for 1 cup of cherry pie filling. How many fluid ounces would that be? We know that 1 cup is equal to 8 ounces. This is just liquids. This wouldn't be if you were measuring chocolate chips versus flour. Those are going to have a very different weight to them. So this is only when you're measuring liquids. They can be measured as fluid ounces. So our answer here would be answer B. As we flip it over, we see our level 2 questions. These are just a little bit tougher. A recipe you are making calls for half of a cup of sugar, but you only have measuring spoons. How many times would you need to use the 1 tablespoon measuring spoon to measure half a cup of sugar? Well, we know that there are 16 tablespoons in 1 cup, and we need half a cup. Oops, half a cup. So we know we would need 8 tablespoons, so we would use it 8 times. Jacob decides to make his mom a homemade cake for her birthday. How sweet of Jacob. The recipe calls for 1 cup of oil. How many ounces will he need to buy? Well, now we have to go from cups to ounces. Again, we know that 1 cup is 8 ounces. Okay, level 3, kicking it up yet another notch. The chocolate cream pie recipe you are making calls for 8 ounces of chapped chocolate. Wow, that's a tongue twister. You plan to make 4 pies for a fundraiser. How many pounds of chocolate would you need to purchase? Well, we have 8 ounces in 1 recipe. We need to make that recipe 4 times. So we know that we need a total of, oh my gosh, I'm totally drawing a blank. 32. Wow. Sorry, that was harder than it should have been. 32 ounces. Well, we know that there are 16 ounces in 1 pound. So we need to divide 32 by 16, and we get 2. It's as simple as that. You know that you can serve 16 people with 2 of your award-winning pies. That's great. That means you can serve, with 1 pie, 8 people. To keep it basic at first. You have been asked to cater a party that will be attended by 150 people. You want to make sure that each person gets at least 1 pie. So we need to divide 150 by 8, and we actually get a decimal that is 18.75. We want to make sure that if we made 18 pies, 0.75 of the people would go hungry, or 0.75 would go hungry. So we need to make sure that we round up. So we want to make 19 pies. Okay, our final level 3 math question. A recipe for vanilla pound cake yields means makes or produces 1 loaf. It calls for 3 cups of sugar, 2 cups of oil, and 2.5 cups of flour. You need to make 3 loaves of pound cake. How much oil would you need to use? Well, 1 recipe needs 2 cups. We need to make the recipe 3 times. So we need to do 2 times 3, and we need 6 cups. Well, we know that 1 cup is 8 ounces. So we need to do 6 cups times 8 ounces, and we get 48 ounces. So our answer is D. Okay, this is it. These are the toughies, the tough ones. You are making a variety of muffins for your foods class. How sweet of you. 9 students would like blueberry. 6 students would like apple. 5 would like cinnamon, and 3 would like wild berry. What percentage of the class would like a berry muffin? Well, we have 9 students plus 6 students plus 5 plus 3, because first we need to figure out the overall total number of students in the class. And we get 23 students. Now, if we are looking at how many of them would like a berry muffin of some sort, we have 9 that would like blueberry and 3 that would like wild berry. So 9 and 3 is 12 students want berries. So we need to take 12 over 23, because 12 out of the 23 students want a berry. And we actually get 52.17%. That one's okay to round down, because it doesn't give you 53%. Okay, a recipe you are making calls for 2 cups of sliced apples, 1 cup of sliced grapes, half a cup of sliced melon, and a 1/4 cup of raisins. How many total teaspoons? A lot of people don't read enough. They're like, oh, they see the T, they think tablespoons. Tablespoons, we're going to get to tablespoons, and then we're going to go to teaspoons. It's just going to be a little bit simpler that way. We know that 1 cup is 16 tablespoons. That's just a given. So we have 2 cups of apples, so that would be 16 times 2 is 32 tablespoons of apple. We have 16 tablespoons of grapes. We have half a cup, which is 8 tablespoons of melon. And a 1/4 of a cup we know is 4 tablespoons of raisins. Now, if we add all of those up, we get a total of 60 tablespoons in our whole fruit salad. Well, we want to get to teaspoons, so we have to multiply it by 3, because there are 3 teaspoons equals 1 tablespoon. That's a lowercase t, sorry. And we get 180 teaspoons. Okay, not least. Here we go. Melanie works at a bakery as a pastry chef. She just took an order for a wedding cake that must serve 100 people. The recipe Melanie uses makes enough cake to serve 10. Well, we know if it makes 100, we need to divide that by 10, because that's 1 cake serves 10. So we need to make 10 batches. So that's just kind of our given. It calls for 3 eggs, 3 cups of sugar, 5½ cups of flour. That's great. Let's look. The oil, the last sentence, the oil Melanie buys comes in 8-cup containers. How many containers of oil will Melanie need to buy in order to have enough oil to make the cake? Well, she needs 2½. I'll let you go with the 2.5 this time, times 10 equals 25 cups of oil that Melanie needs. Well, it comes in 8-cup containers, so we're going to take that 25 and we're going to divide it by 8, and we end up getting 3.125 containers. I have such bad chicken scratch, I apologize. But we need to round up, so she needs to purchase 4 containers of oil. That is it for our math review. You will be seeing some of these questions or similar questions, mainly the equivalents and the conversions and the abbreviations. You will be seeing those on your safety and sanitation and food procedure review test that we'll be taking later this week. Good luck!